Welcome to the Elevated Trader Podcast. I am Dr. Kristen Kidgel.
And I am Tracy Ball. Join us every week as we journey into becoming better traders.
We believe becoming better traders involves elevating our skill, our mindset, and our health. In each episode, we will discuss the current book we are exploring, and we invite you to join us on this journey.
Are you ready to elevate your trading, mindset, and health to the next level? Let's do this. Welcome to the Elevated Trader Podcast. This is You're a Badass, Part 1 by Jen Sincero. Let's dive in. So, wow, this is like book 5, right? We are on book 5 already.
Here we
Kristen,
go.
it's so good to be with you once again. And we're into You Are a Badass.
Thanks, I appreciate that.
So this episode is going to be basically about part 1 of the book. So if you're following along, that's the section that you would need to read to be caught up with us. So let's just dive in. Any takeaways from the introductory?
I love her sense of humor.
I know.
I really do.
I'm listening to the audiobook.
This is a good read.
I'm listening to the audiobook and reading the book at the same time, which is the first time I've ever done that, which it's kind of cool. But her humor, because she's the one narrating it, and I think she's awesome. She's pretty neat. Great sense of humor.
Yeah, I have to agree, because there are some parts that, because she's reading it and she wrote it, that it is really funny. I have laughed many a times, even at the same part, because I'll go back and listen to it again and just be like, why is that funny every time?
So far, this is one of my books that I'm going to put on the shelf that says I need to read it again and again and again in the future.
Yeah.
I give it a thumbs up.
Millions and millions of copies of this book sold, and she has many other books, and I hope that we hit on those at one point.
We are.
Awesome.
So, introductory.
Yep.
What did you take away from that?
Oh boy. One of the parts that I really, really enjoyed where she just hit on, like, listen, there's so many of us that want to change. We can sit around and still eating potato chips and drinking a Bud Light or something and go, I really want to change. But then, like, deciding to change. You just have to decide to change.
Because it really is a choice. You may not like the choices that are sitting in front of you, but it absolutely is a choice. Everybody has a choice.
Yep, for sure.
So I do like that. Was that the biggest takeaway that you had from the introductory, or is that just one part that stood out to you?
That was the first part that stood out. I do like that she also, right out of the gate, starts talking about limiting beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
Because, most of the books that we read are really about limiting beliefs, and here we are. Right out of the gate, she's jumping into it. And then she just basically is also just saying, okay, people, you're going to have to get out of your own way. And what does that look like?
Isn't that true? It's interesting because we spend so much time trying to build skills and like tangible skills in our career, skills in, maybe an athletic performance that we do or a musical performance or whatever. They're tactical, tangible, concrete skills. And yet our growth really is limited through our head. Our limiting beliefs is really the capping point for our success in life.
All day long.
Every
week.
And so, we can read all these books and they're all going to have the same underlying theme because it's true. We can read another book on how to become a better accountant or a better trader or a better whatever, blah, blah, blah. But until we really tackle those beliefs, and I mean really tackle those beliefs.
Or catching them, honestly. I feel like that's half the time when I'm doing, I'm like, ooh, I'm seeing another one. Another thing that stood out to me is she wants to be very clear that you're going to have to believe in things you can't see or you 100% think that are completely false. Like, you're going to have to literally, if you really want to make a difference, make a change, and to have this book really move you, because obviously that's why you've picked up this book, honestly, is you're going to have to change the way you're thinking.
Mm-hmm.
So I really like that too, how she's just like, she's literally in your face about it.
Oh yeah, calling you out on it.
Because your life does depend on it, she says. Guess what? Your life does depend on it.
So have you been doing any of the exercises so far?
No, honestly, I do remember coming across that one that you mentioned earlier about the 5 things that come up around money?
Yeah, 5 things that come up around money.
No, I have not. I mean, I'm not going to say there that it didn't cross my mind to grab a pen and paper, but I probably was doing something else while I was listening.
Okay, well, let's do something right now. And our listeners, you guys can join in with us right now. But limiting beliefs, because we do know that they are the thing that kind of holds us back. And I guess the first step is to identify or even to acknowledge that they exist. What I'm curious about right now is, what are some of the things that you do to, first of all, catch yourself when you have those limiting beliefs? And then maybe, do you have any tips or tricks that you use to kind of switch gears and try and rebuild some of those limiting beliefs and challenge them and convert them into something different? Rewire your brain, perhaps.
I can't say there's something that I do to catch myself. I have to say that it takes practice to catch yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the one way you learn to identify that these are limiting beliefs would be to read books like this and hang out with people that talk like this. So, your friendship, I can think of faces and names that are like 5 or 6 people that if I said something, they would say, "What are you talking about? That's not you. You don't believe that." Like, literally would call me out on it. And so when that happens, that helps you start catching yourself without them being present. So I think, honestly, a couple times that I can think of just making some changes, just in my work, and then, all the different things that, we're juggling, is sometimes a face will show up. Like, that person didn't hear me say it, but what would that person say to me at that point? So those things are starting to happen more. And I think I'm like, that's super cool. Like, oh my gosh, I'm in my own head. I don't believe that to be true, but gosh, how many years have I told myself that?
Mm-hmm.
But then what? Now you catch yourself in it. Now you know it's a limiting belief. Then what? Then you got to go, well, what's the opposite? What am I going to do? What am I going to say? And then you almost have to share it with somebody, like, okay, so I have this limiting belief, and this is what's happening, and now I need to fix it. And sometimes just saying it out loud, you don't even need them to agree with you or not. You just like get it out. So
I love that tip, because I tell you, what you hear in your head sounds so much better than what you actually say out loud. So when you have a limiting belief, it sounds legitimate in your brain. It sounds like really concrete and truthful, but then you say it out loud. And the minute you say it out loud, you're like, boy, that sounds stupid. Maybe that's wrong. So get in the habit of actually verbalizing it too, because that might be something that helps you catch it. And all of a sudden those other voices start to step in and say, nah, you're wrong. That's just a silly thing that you're saying. That's not the way things are. You're not worthless. You're not whatever that limiting belief might be. You're not that. So definitely, it doesn't sound the same when it comes out of your mouth.
That's true. Well, and then really having those, few people, couple people, one person that maybe there's this agreement that you can have these conversations and they help you piece through it.
Mm-hmm.
I just had this reoccurring thing about, like, there was a change that I wanted to make it work, and I kept telling myself and kept talking myself out of making this particular change. And in my mind, I came up with a bazillion excuses why not to do it. And then somebody just like, the only person stopping you from making that change is you. I mean, so sometimes you almost have to hear it a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what are you doing? Like, get out of your own way. I'm like, okay, I will know. Doesn't mean it's not uncomfortable, because it still was uncomfortable. But then I made the change and I was like, oh, it wasn't so bad. That's working out okay.
Yeah. Now, you are really good at surrounding yourself with people that are incredible, I think. You've got such an incredible network. That's my opinion. I wanted to point out, because a lot of people confuse love. They confuse loving actions with agreement. And the people around you that may love you, or they may say they love you, they need to be people that will also tell you the truth. And there's something very different. I know a lot of people that will say they love somebody, but they will not tell them the truth about it. They'll just continue to love them and support them and whatever, but they won't be confrontational. They won't go into that area where they want to actually test you or push you to be better or to whatever. And I want to make sure that people can identify that. And you need to surround yourself with people that will be truthful to you in a loving way.
Right. It's true.
I find when I'm struggling with limiting beliefs, we've talked about balance many, many times throughout other episodes. And I find when I am in a state of imbalance, that is the part where I really struggle catching myself with those limiting beliefs. I find it much easier to catch myself when I'm getting proper sleep, when I'm eating right, exercising, and everything's kind of in balance. That's when I'm able to challenge and fight against those limiting beliefs. But when everything else is not in balance, all of a sudden those limiting beliefs, they can take over. It's like if you imagine it like a little battle. And I have so much energy to fight these limiting beliefs. And if I don't take care of myself, then all of a sudden they can overpower me and they've taken control. So that's one of the things that I recognize about myself. And I need to make sure that I've taken care of myself in order to have the strength left over to tackle those limiting beliefs.
So that reminds me of something that she basically leads into here, which I think is really important, because if you don't know this about Tracy or myself, we do really good with routine. And the book before this was The Miracle Morning. And I've heard her say it. I know I've thought it and have said it. It's when we get out of our routine of the things that work good, feel good, and all these different things, then that's where we feel that imbalance. And the way Jen talks about it in her book is she talks about it, how do I put this? Being connected to source. So we have to back up a little bit, because she noticed that when she called the chapter 2 the G word, right? Like she talks about that. And then with that said, she goes, use whatever words you want to use. Call it universal intelligence, call it God, call it all of these things. But now I'm thinking about when she's talking about when she's doing those yoga poses, how she's screaming at the teacher. Like, oh my God, dude, my hip's going to break. And then I took a breath and I breathed. And so she was just using different examples of being in the I don't want to say meditative state, but being more present, attempting to be more calm, attempting to connect to that thing that you cannot see, that we all have these different labels for, again, whatever words you want to call it. But I feel like that's what happens when we're in balance. Like we have that connection to ourselves, to a greater purpose, to frequencies and energies. And when we're paying attention to those things, then things start happening the way we want them. So if we go, okay, we want to make this change, right? We've decided it's going to happen. Then we have to start thinking differently and acting differently, and then staying in a calm state instead of being like, oh, all hyperactive and squirreling everywhere. Because I'm pretty sure I'm one of those people. And I just say all that because I feel like that connects with what she's saying to what you don't even, I don't think, realize that you're saying with having those routines. Because part of those routines is meditating.
Yeah, absolutely.
And journaling and all of those things where you're with yourself.
And you're absolutely right. And that's exactly it. It's a connection of flow that is just smooth and consistent and present. And you just, I can really, if anyone out there is a musician and you've ever tried to play a riff on the guitar or something like that, and when you're in the groove, it feels easy. But when you're not in the groove, it feels very cumbersome. It feels like a challenge. And the people that can play guitar or are a musician will understand exactly the thing that I'm talking about right now. Or maybe you're an athlete and in a golf swing and everything connects right in. It's just a flawless, perfect shot because just the way you moved your hips, the way you offloaded your weight, the way you swung your arms, the connection was just perfect and it felt effortless. And if you've ever taken a shot or thrown a ball or done something like that, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And that's kind of the same thing, but from a more of a, I would say, a spiritual perspective. And when I say that, I'm talking about just all of the things that we don't see and we can't understand. And as you've mentioned before, it's however you want to define it. I'm not saying a religious perspective. I'm saying from a spiritual perspective. So coming from your soul, deep inside, your emotions, everything, your heart, your connection, your thought, all of it is just working together. And that smoothness just drives you and takes you on your purpose, on your journey towards your purpose or through your purpose. And it feels good. It feels easy. It feels like you can't do anything wrong at that point.
Right. Yeah. Some of like the best books, bestsellers ever written, the best songs ever written. Those people that were the writers are like, yep, I was just in the moment. I was in the flow. It was just like pouring out of me just really easily. I agree. And, honestly, one of the things we just kind of forgot to talk about is trading, because you're either in your flow or you're not. I mean, if you know you're having a bad day, why are you deciding to open up charts? We were discussing that too. So
just from a trading perspective, I used to spend hours in front of the computer preparing for the market open every day. I would be looking at the charts, doing my analysis and blah, 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 blah. And, put a little pocket protector in and a pen and get a calculator out and, doing the whole 9 yards.
That's an adorable thought. Like a little, did you say pocket protector? What?
Pocket protector. Yeah. Put my glasses on, like really get into it and just, put all that technical analysis to work. At the end of the day, you get so far. And then I made a shift a while back, and I shifted from spending that hour and a half to 2 hours preparing for the market and doing all that technical analysis. I shifted the perspective into my mindset and preparing my mind and my body and doing that routine in the morning. And all of a sudden, that was the shift. That was the shift that all of a sudden I approach the markets now, which with that balance, with that clarity, with that in that groove, and it just carries on through my life. And all of a sudden you're hitting home runs, you're hitting this, you're hitting that. And it feels good. It doesn't mean you don't have bad days. It doesn't mean you don't make mistakes, or you don't have slippages, whatever it might be. That happens too. But how you handle it and how you deal with it, you just keep on going. And it's always a step forward instead of feeling like it's a one step forward and 3 steps back. It's one step forward, then another step forward, then another step forward, then maybe 1 step back, then 4 more steps forward. And it's just continual progress.
Yep.
And that was huge.
Well, she also says, like, what do you have to lose? Just try it.
Yeah, exactly.
Honestly. And if you don't like it and you think it's horrible, like, stop doing it. But and then she's like, your life kind of depends on it. So, the limiting beliefs is about the subconscious. And she goes into this kind of in depth about subconscious and conscious. And she tries to make it very clear that the conscious thinks it's running the show, but it's actually not. The subconscious is.
Yeah.
And that the subconscious doesn't realize it's running the show, but it is running the show.
Yeah, and I actually like how she put it, because she said that the conscious mind is doing all the thinking, yet it has no control. And the subconscious is doing no thinking and has all the control.
Yeah, exactly.
Isn't that scary?
Yeah. Did you read that or hear that and then go back and listen to it again?
I don't remember if I did.
Okay, I did. Just because I was like...
It hit home, because I remember it. Right? Yeah.
It's true. And that our generation, like how am I going to put this? Our beliefs are basically from those that we, number one, surround ourselves with around now, but really who brought us up. Parents or whatever.
Yeah, for sure. And actually that brings me to the one thing that I actually really love the way that she said this, and I'm not going to swear because this is a clean show, but all this is to say that it's not your fault that you're effed up. It's your fault if you stay effed up. And we're talking about, the past and the people that got you to where you are right now. And you're now responsible for stepping into that new light. You're now responsible for stepping into the life that you want and the life that you expect and the life that you think that you deserve. And it's your responsibility to start moving forward. That being said, I also like later on in I think it was, I don't remember what chapter it is, but she talks about looking, and this really hit home for me. I needed to do this because this is something that I struggle with. We are our hardest critics. We are we beat ourselves up. I mean, if I treated anyone on the planet the way I treat myself, somebody would probably throw me in jail because it's that bad at times. Like, I'm serious. It's that bad. And it's uncalled for. But anyway, one of the activities that she suggested is finding somebody in your life that imagine somebody, your biggest fan, okay? The biggest fan in your life. Imagine who they are and what they think of you. Now try and see yourself through their eyes. Okay?
Yep.
What a challenge that is.
It's breaking habits.
Yeah, definitely. But what an exercise, hey? And you know what? If you really don't know what they think of you, then you need to ask them. Because I know deep down inside, we know the people who care about us the most. So go and ask them.
Yep.
And if they don't care about you, they aren't going to tell you. But if they do, they'd be more than happy to share those things with you.
Everybody needs a team.
Everybody needs a team.
Or a cheerleader. Or two.
Absolutely.
Or three.
Yep.
For sure. I get it. It's true. It's true. And if you're not sure, like you were just saying, if you're not sure who that is, like, they're there. You just got to think about it. And then hang out with them a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. Got it.
I mean, you and I, we can always rely on each other because, I mean, I think the world of you. And I'm pretty sure you think pretty highly of me. So I think we got this, symbiotic relationship happening that we're good. High five, sister.
High five. And for the record, she is really hard on herself. Really hard. And I know that I'm hard on myself, but I think I'm like a tenth of how hard you are on yourself.
Yeah, it's a cursing and a blessing at the same time, right? Yeah, but I need to stop. It's one of those things that I have to stop doing. Anyway. Okay.
Make a decision.
That's it.
Do you want to do you want to do it, or are you deciding to do it?
Make that choice.
Okay.
All right, folks. That's it for part 1. It has been an awesome episode. Catch you in part 2. So that's what we're going to do for next episode. Catch up, read part 2, and we will see you in the next episode.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us today. For more information about the show, as well as our list of current reads, check us out at www.theelevatedtrader.com.
Remember to subscribe and share if you found value in today's episode. See you next week.